Hi, my name is Dr. Ricardo Ortiz. I am a behavior science expert, a minister for 23 years, and an independent investigative journalist. Recently, I have been the victim of a smear campaign within my community. Some of you have seen the posts on social media. The individuals involved in this plot to smear and frame me for a crime have stated on social media and to the community that I vandalized their apartment, hallway, and entrance. These are the pictures they posted on Facebook, insinuating that I am the author of this harassment tactic. They also stated that they have me on video defecating on their front door. In normal circumstances, I would never find the need to defend myself because my life, my testimony, and my relationship with the community speaks for itself. But there's a problem. This is by no means a normal circumstance. The persons trying to frame me for a crime have done this before. So they feel emboldened by the fact that they were able to get someone arrested the first time they pulled this scheme off. They framed and planned and falsely accused one of my neighbors in the past. They had him arrested, and if it wasn't for the courts who saw through the scam when evidence was presented, that poor man would have had done some serious time in jail. The Lord was truly with him, and I thank God for taking him out of that situation. But it appears that just by getting someone arrested, they have become emboldened to try this again. A folder of evidence was sent to the proper authorities, who I hope are currently handling this case with expertise and diligence. Part of the evidence that I have sent to the authorities includes documents that prove I was out of the country when they planned to frame me. They didn't expect this to blow up in their faces, but yes, I was out of the country. They posted the pictures on the weekend of November 29th to December 1st. During this time, I was on vacation. But there's something else that proves that this is an inside job and that they themselves were attempting to frame me for some crime that I did not do. The cross on the picture they posted has been photoshopped. That cross you see on that picture is not actually there. So we know they took the picture of this alleged crime and posted it on Facebook. Now the question is, why did they take the time to add a cross on the picture after the fact? Why were they adding a cross to the scene they claim someone else did? And that is absolutely clear evidence of how these individuals have worked. They are absolutely, in my opinion, very dangerous. And this is why I'm coming out publicly with this, because I don't know what their next step is. As a behavior science expert, I know people like this are relentless in obtaining their objective. In public, they present themselves as innocent and harmless beings, but behind the scenes, they are calculating. They already fooled authorities once, and they are boldened to try this again. Another piece of crucial evidence is the fact that they photoshopped a cross on the picture to attempt to associate me with the scene because I am a minister. So they figured he is a minister, let's Photoshop a cross on the floor as to associate me with the crime scene they created. They clearly did a bad job here, because that has nothing to do with Christianity. I have a bachelor's degree in theology, a master's degree in Christian psychology, and this is not Christianity. This is witchcraft. So in trying to associate me with the crime scene, they attempted to create something that would identify my religion, but in doing so, what they did was voodoo. People who practice voodoo use white salt for spells on other people, but as you can learn online, if you do a little search, the white salt is actually used for good luck and good fortune during gambling. So they got it all screwed up. So as they tried to frame me for a crime and defame my character, they messed up on both ends of the spectrum, in Christianity and voodoo. So they weren't able to associate me with the crime scene because I'm not a witchcrafter. I'm a minister. I had to go to the authorities, and even though they did a sloppy job with the first frame job and they were able to fool authorities, I am taking this public so that the public is aware of their scheme. But the best evidence of all is that the individuals involved in this smear and setup campaign claim to have a video of me defecating on their front door. That is interesting. If that's the case, they should go to the authorities and show the video to the proper authorities. But they can't, because it does not exist. I mean, when you accuse someone of such horrible behavior and you claim to have video evidence but don't have nothing, that in itself shows you are trying to smear and set someone up for a crime. That is pretty sick. It is pretty disturbing and despicable that someone would even try to set up an innocent person for a crime. No one has victimized them, but they are plotting to portray themselves as victims. So let's look at the writing on the wall. Now, I hate doing this. Those of you who know me know that I am not arrogant. I have kept my accomplishments silent for the last 30 years. But I have to bring it up at this time so you can continue to see clear evidence of an attempt to frame me. This is not the grammar of someone who has a bachelor's, 2 master's degrees, verified course certificates in Harvard University on global health and astronomy and neuroscience with 10 points above the passing grade, and a PhD in psychology. That is not the grammar of someone with those credentials. Whoever wrote that on that wall has a limited education. Their next step will be to continue to discredit me, defame me, and create situations and false narratives to make it look like they are being persecuted and harassed. That is the impression they want to create, even though it is not happening. When you begin to investigate these cases, you come to realize that their objectives could be to obtain Section 8 benefits by creating false narratives. So if you're a woman with kids or a man with children in New York State and you claim that your neighbor is a threat to you and your family, and you can create a false narrative to support that, then you could possibly receive benefits. I believe this is their plan. You will be surprised by how many people have gotten away with fabricating stories to gain government benefits. It happens all the time. And it really is scary because the NYPD has been put in a tight spot by prosecutors and politicians. Prosecutors in the state of New York are reluctant to press charges on women who have fabricated stories about domestic violence and harassment. Prosecutors will not take up these cases in fear that real victims will not come forward, but they are okay with creating male victims who are being set up on false narratives. That is pretty disturbing about our system. I feel like in order to protect myself, I have to make this public because the system is set up to punish men. That's what the Democratic Party has created in the state of New York. And this is why I am in this situation, because I'm dealing with individuals who have gotten away with the abuse of the system that was put in place to protect real victims, and they feel emboldened to try and use the system one more time. I thank you for listening, and please be on the lookout, because their objective now is to create false narratives and to state that they are being prosecuted and that it's an abuse because there's children in the home. And this is pretty disturbing because they clearly have no empathy in destroying innocent lives to obtain benefits. And you know, it's a real sad story that they are really digging into this situation. And part of the reason, it's not their fault that they're really trying to dig in to this false narrative. It's the system's fault because the system has allowed them to get away with it. Right now, it is possible that in the first false narrative that they created, they're still being assisted by the system. They're still being assisted by authorities. So it's a crazy situation where the system is helping them create a false narrative for a person that was taking a vacation, you know, from a year of hard work, working with children with autism. Every day and day in and day out, I'm at work, working with children with autism, working with adults with autism. I do research to help these individuals with autism, to help people with disabilities. I've been doing it for more than 20 years. I'm also a minister. I counsel people, and my whole life has been revolved around trying to help people who are real victims. And now it seems like the system, you know, has induced a behavior that is totally contradictory to what I do and what I have been doing for such a long time in society. It will be a complete shame that the system be fooled once again and allow these individuals to keep creating false narratives in order to benefit from the system. And, you know, the evidence is very clear. I have submitted evidence to the authorities, you know, but, you know, sometimes if you were a powerful and rich person, the police would have already arrested these individuals for fabricating stories. But when you're a poor man with a degree, you know, it becomes very difficult. And those individuals who are good people who don't have the opportunity to get a degree and don't have money and are faced with individuals who are evil and who are relentless in trying to do you damage. You know, it's sad. You're going to be caught up in the system because the system was set up to protect people, but in another way, it's creating other victims. So you have real victims of domestic violence, but then you have other victims who are victims of fabricated stories about domestic violence, and you have other victims who have been falsely accused of crimes, you know, and all these victims who are on this side, they end up on this side due to the system not putting check and balances, you know. So the police officer is forced to make an arrest because of the system, you know. But on the other hand, a police officer, even though the law says that it is a misdemeanor to create a false story to the police, you know, the police are reluctant to arrest someone for that. You know, and it's a whole failure. And this is why I feel the need that I need to come out in the public with this in order to protect myself. And I will continue to, you know, make public any situation regarding this, you know, because that in essence is their strategy. Their strategy is to keep creating false narratives and project them through social media in order to have a paper trail of false narratives so they can use it to benefit the system or to use the system in the future for benefits, or simply to destroy a life and also at the same time gain benefits. Thank you for hearing me out. God bless you, and thank you.